Oh, hey everybody, how you doing today? I was just out looking over my little garden here. It looks like tomatoes has about had it. Whole summer garden season is going to be winding down here soon. Hey, by the way, welcome to my program today. I'm Virgil, the Rockwell Urban Gardener. I'm glad y'all could be with me. You can see behind me the old tomato plants is looking pretty poor there. They've done about all they can do for me this year, so in the next couple of days I'm going to be taking all this out, and I'm going to do a few little things for the fall, but not too much. One thing I wanted to talk about today, outside this garden behind me, is hear a lot of talk about grand solar minimums and stuff like that. Things goes on with your garden, and things goes on in the up in space and all with the sun and things. But that grand solar minimum thing, they've been talking, some talks about. Grand solar minimum only means that the sun's not as active as it usually is, and the old Earth's kind of sitting on a axis that ain't just right or something. But anyway, I don't know what all that means, but other than it don't have to correlate with your garden. Yeah, it all depends on you when it comes down to your gardening. Here in the South, in North Carolina, in the South, it gets hot here in June, July, August, September. It's rather warm here, and the best way to utilize your garden space is put some of it in the sun like this. I mean, not the sun, but in the shade like here behind me. This garden here is in shade most of the day. It gets a little bit of sunlight, but all my plants do real well in it. People say I've heard people say you got to have full sun for everything, but that may be true for later on, you know, early in the year, and all April and all, but hey, if you ain't got some shade and you ain't got some way to protect your plants, especially when it gets here in the last part of June through July, August, and September here in the South, your stuff's going to get burnt up. Because we get very little rain and a whole lot of sunshine and a whole lot of heat. But thing I can tell you, as far as this grand solar minimum talk and stuff, all these things goes on with the atmosphere, you know, there ain't a thing we can do about that. But there are some things we can do that could help us out in our gardening. Like I say, this garden behind me is in mostly shade, but it produces tomatoes, and I got some squash there and cucumbers, and it produces all real well, and it gives my plants some relief from the sun so much on it. I got another little garden over here that's in full sun, and everything in it's burned up. I mean, I try to keep the water and stuff to it, but eventually, you know, the heat's going to get to it. But I also got some containers and things that I got my plants in that helps out a whole lot. So let me grab the camera here a few minutes, and I'll show you some of the things I got here. And it might help you out with your garden, especially if you live here in the South. And hang on, I'll be right back with you. This is the garden that I was talking about that's right behind me. And you can see it's got some sun, but it's got shade to it. Let me show you what I got going here. This right here is some squash. You can see it's growing real well. It has some squash on it. That's another squash. That all in that one raised bed. There's cucumbers. And I got tomatoes there. And all these are tomatoes. They've all done real well. I picked more tomatoes than I can eat. That's a little squash plant. You see it's doing real well. And if you look on that squash plant, you'll see that there's squash growing there. There's one right there. one over there. And like I say, these do real well in the shade. That's some lemon cucumbers I got growing in a little container here, and they're starting to grow and do real well. And that right there is some Swiss chard. I got it planted and it's starting to grow. That's another little cucumber, not a cucumber, that's a squash plant there. One there, and they're just getting started. And that's all tomatoes there behind it. Those are for the fall. Those big beef tomatoes there, they should do real well for the fall. But the rest of them there, some big cherry tomatoes. Those plants are going to come out here in the next couple of days. They've done all they can do for the summer, and they do real well here. This is all in got some shade to it. There is sun that gets through, filtered sun, but it all does real well here. This is the garden that I got in full sun, and I had squash and cucumbers and everything planted here, but the sun got to them, and I got one little lone wolf squash plant there. He come up by himself, so I'm gonna let him grow, see what I get out of him. I'm not tearing anything up that wants to grow. And that little raised bed over behind it's got some radish in it, and that one right there's got a little tomato plant in him. But this out here is my full sun garden, and early in the year, like in April, March and April, maybe February, I plant some cabbages and stuff like that. Does good. And early, you might get some squash off, but after we hit the last part of June, middle part of June, July, it gets so hot here and this sun bears down on them, and it really burns the plant up. Again, this is my other garden. It's got the shade in it. If you can get an area like this to plant you some plants in, it would benefit you. Having this shade during June, July, and August, and you can put some water and stuff to it, and it lasts longer. But anyway, that's just a suggestion, and this is what I do to keep my plants growing and things to eat. These are my containers, all in from the green one down. That rail is all Tiny Tim tomatoes. They're about played out. All these here are in shade right now. They get some sun in the evenings, but they do real well in the shade. I got a little, it's like a 3-gallon pots. I got my tomatoes planted in. They do real well. I water them about twice a day. I put fertilizer in them once a week. They do real well. This over here is some lettuce I got planted in a little container, and that one over there is some lettuce over there. Anyway, that's what I was trying to get at, is all this grand solar minimum stuff we hear talked, and all this stuff about space we can't do anything about. But you can control your garden and your aspect of the way you grow things. And you can, if you can't get shade through, like I got trees and stuff around here, get you some shade cloth or something and build you a little canopy to put over it so you can protect your stuff from the sun. Well, that's a little look at my containers and some of the things I got going on in my garden with the heat and everything. Let's don't worry so much about, we hear all these discussions about grand solar minimums and things taking place in our atmosphere, and us as regular old home gardeners and all, and people out here trying to grow a little something to eat, we can't do anything about any of that stuff that goes on in space and all. But what we can do is we can make sure that we got something to eat by paying attention to where we're growing our plants and stuff. Like I say, this area behind me is in shade, and it does real well. There's no problem with it, so don't let anybody tell you you can't grow anything in some shade, because you surely can. But anyway, that's my program today. I'm glad y'all with me, and I hope y'all have a blessed day. And I'm Virgil, the Rockville Urban Gardener. And if you have any comment, leave them in the comment section below. I'll be more than glad to get back to you. And be sure and subscribe to my channel. Until I talk to you the next time, I hope y'all have a blessed day.